And welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the rebroadcast. Thank you for joining me. I am your host for the 29 Days of Love, Dr. Sabrina, the Success Broker. I am excited because, hey, walkers, Sue, how are you? Thank you for joining me. I am going to talk about, for the next couple of days, the 5 stages of love relationships. All relationships go through these 5 stages. But tonight we're going to start with stage number 1. And I'm going to go a little deep. I'm going to talk about these stages so that we truly understand it. We understand when we're stuck in that stage. We understand some of the issues that go on with us in those stages so that we have knowledge, because I believe that knowledge is power. And when we understand something better, we can really understand how to get through it, how to make it through it, how to understand that this is not something that is rare, that is something that no one else goes through. Because what I've learned is that when you understand that you're not the only one going through, that it helps you to feel better about it. It helps to make you feel like you're not all alone. So we want to dive into these stages of love. And the first stage, and all stages in the stages that I'm going to be talking about, start with a P. So, the first stage is passion. Can you remember the first time that you really fell in love? And so, as I began to look at, thank you for those hearts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Give me those hearts. Let me see those hearts. But do you remember the first time that you actually fell in love? That passion stage, that romantic stage. And I think that sometimes the media, Hollywood, oftentimes it makes us think that this first stage is the end all be all stage. And so that when people move out of this stage, that's when they become bewildered. That's when they become disillusioned. That's when they become like, I don't love you no more. That's not it. You can still love the person. You just may not have that infatuation. Hey, double digit diva. How are you, Soror Sands? You may not be in that romantic space any longer. It doesn't mean that you can't go back there. And it doesn't mean that you are not going to still have romance and love in the other stages in your life. But when we look at this passion stage, several things happen. So as I began to think of the word passion or romance, I started to look up some of the words that are affiliated with that. Affection. That's when you can't keep your hands off each other. Showing strong emotion that, you can't wait for the telephone to ring. You can't wait to get the text. You can't wait to see the person. You get that butterfly feeling in your belly when you start to think about that person. Excitement. There may even be some frenzy that goes on. That joy. But let me say this. It also may have some misery. Because when you are away from that person, you feel bad. You ache and long to be with that person. So it may be a little suffering, but then there's rapture, there's zeal, there's love, there's that infatuation, that crush, lust, yeah, that's when you start to feel like you can't wait to touch on them, to feel on them, things of that nature. There may also be some weakness. Hey, thank you for those hearts. And strong interest and fascination. You want to look at them. You want to rub on them. You want to touch on their hair. You want to stare into their eyes. You want to hold their hand. You want to lay your head on their chest. You just cannot wait to see them and to be with them. And so that romantic stage is when we begin to fall in love with that person. And when you do, your brain, actually, there's some physical things going on here. Your brain releases a cocktail. That means a cocktail is a mixture of chemicals that includes Oxycontin, that includes the dopamine, the things that make you feel all excited and elated and excited. Your brain puts that cocktail together and it's almost like you are drunk. It's almost like you are addicted. Let me tell you something. The only difference between the feeling of euphoria and excitement and this chemical cocktail that is mixed, the only difference between that and being addicted to a drug is that falling in love is legal and drug addiction is illegal. So you will chemically feel like almost like not yourself. You just feel like, oh, I can't stop thinking about them. Thank you so much for talking about me looking good. Thank you. 50 looks good on me. And I don't even have on no makeup today. But we have this chemical thing that's going on when we're in this first stage. So it's also important to know that this high feeling, this cocktail of chemicals that's going on in our brain, this stage can take anywhere from 2 months to 2 years. So think about it. If you're always feeling this high, this wonderful feeling, and then when it goes away, you wake up one morning and it's not there anymore, guess what happens? I call this, you hit the bottom and you go through love withdrawal. It's almost like a love hangover. Your head is hurting. You're not feeling good no more. Because that feeling of euphoria that you were so excited about, that feeling of excitement, that feeling of, I can't wait to see this person, is now gone. And so what happens when that leaves is oftentimes we think that we're not in love anymore. We think that that's not the person anymore. But as big, grown, mature people, we have to learn that that's just a stage. And then we're going to move into the next stage. And that next stage has a next stage because there's 5 stages that our love relationships go through. And I think one of the biggest problems that we see the highest level of divorce is because when people hit rock bottom after the romance state, after the passion state, is when we see the highest degree of breakups. We see the highest degree of, I don't want to be with you no more. The highest degree of, I don't even think you understand me. If you don't know me by now, you will never, ever, ever know me. All of that conflict begins to happen in the second phase. But something else that goes on in this first phase, and it's very important to know this, is that you are attracted oftentimes to your opposite. So when you get this high feeling, oh my goodness, because it's so different, this person is different from you, their thoughts are different than yours, it's just so polar opposite. There is a reason why it seems like you are attracted to somebody that it looks like you shouldn't even be compatible with. I know for me, when I first was falling in love with my first husband, tell my story. I've had 2 husbands, so I have 2 husbands because I've been divorced twice, real life stuff. But when I was falling in love with my first husband, I just remember thinking, really? I'm liking him like this? I'm starting to feel this way about him because I've known him almost all my life. And we grew up in church together. I knew his mother and his father and his siblings, and we was in Sunday school together. So I'm like, this can't really be happening to me. But it did. So you have to own your stuff. You have to really begin to embrace that phase 1. That's stage 1. That's stage 1 of feeling euphoric. That's stage 1 of feeling excited about being with the person. But now let me say this. Just because that phase moves and goes away and is no longer there does not mean that you can't attract that feeling again. Stop, no matter what phase you're in, and remember what drew you to the person in the first place. Remember what got you excited to see them. Remember what value they brought to your life, what excitement they brought to your life. And you can relive that. You can go back there. Even if you've grown past there, there are still some remnants from that you can latch on to, because oftentimes the very thing that drew you to the person is later the thing that'll repel you about the person. But you have to remember and value those things that's good about the person. So I want you to dive into understanding that when you are in a love relationship, when you are looking to move into a love relationship, that first stage is a romance. That first stage is passion. That first stage is a chemical almost imbalance, because that chemical cocktail that your brain is creating for you is going to take you on a high. That's why feeling like you are in love it's like feeling on high. It's like getting excited. It's like having a drug. But no, beloved, that there is another stage a coming, and you got to get ready for it. And so tomorrow, we're going to be right back with you. We're going to go into stage number 2, and that starts with the P as well, and that is the power struggle stage. So be back tomorrow as we talk about stage 2 of the 5 stages of love relationships that we all go through, and some of us get stuck in those stages. So know what they are, know how to move through them, and know what to expect when you're in them. So we know in our passion stage, we are expecting to feel that euphoria, that cocktail, that chemical thing that's going to have us all over the place. But it's a good place to be. So enjoy it, embrace it. See you tomorrow. Love you.